Hi everyone, today we're covering a new RK3326 from Palkity. This isn't a bizarre case of deja vu, it's Palkity back with a new variant of the RGB10 line with a new handheld called the RGB10s. Okay, so it's maybe a bit of deja vu as Palkity have actually made an optimized version of the RGB10 Max line, the RGB10 Max 2. And to be fair to Palkity, the RGB10 Max 2 did come back with a lot of genuine improvements to the original Max. So let's see if Palkity can do the same with the RGB10. Spec-wise, this is an RK3326 handheld, so it can play up to and including PlayStation 1 with pretty much no problems, with some support from a host of other systems like Nintendo 64, PSP and Dreamcast. Unlike the original RGB10, or its so-called Pro option, the RGB10s comes with an improved joystick which clicks in and built-in Wi-Fi. The RGB10s also comes with a mono speaker 3.5-inch IPS LCD panel at a 480 by 320 resolution and a 3000 mAh battery, which is almost in the middle ground between the original RGB10 and its Pro version's battery size. I personally really like the stripped back to basics approach to the design. It reminds me a lot of the Odroid Go Advance, where a lot of these handhelds were originally cloned for, so it's almost like we've come a full circle in that respect. The standout change, of course, from an input perspective is that the RGB10s now has stacked shoulder buttons, which brings it most in line with Palkity's bigger RK3326 handheld, which also received a similar revision recently, the RGB10 Max 2. Has the same white finish and feel in terms of inputs, incredibly similar and match size-wise too. So if you've ever used an RGB10 Max 2 before, you know exactly what to expect. The display panel is pretty good, though it does have a bit of a yellow tint when compared to better panels used elsewhere. For comparison's sake, we've got the RGB10s, RGB10 Max 2 and Ambenix 351M here. I can definitely see a difference when directly comparing against my other handhelds, but it's a lot less noticeable when you're playing the RGB10s in isolation. So I wouldn't say it's bad by any means, but certainly not an exceptional panel. So moving on to the controls, I actually really get on with the controls from the RGB10 line. The original RGB10 was Palkity's first standout handheld for me, and the whole line with its Pro and both Maxes have been consistently favourable. They're not my favourite of all time, far from it. The D-pad pivot is a bit loose, the menu and option buttons are bone crunchy clicky, and there's a little wobble all round, but the stacked shoulder buttons, although absolutely tiny, are actually very good. And although they're a bit on the clicky side, they simply just work when the handheld's in your hands. The main downside for me, the membranes behind the inputs give everything a little bit of a rubbery feel and sound. But if you've ever used anything in the RGB10 range, then there are improvements here. The joystick especially is a great addition. And if this is your first handheld, there's nothing game breaking here at all. So I normally show how the controls apply to an actual game in practice, and happy to say I didn't run into any trouble with either the joystick or directional pad with the RGB10s. I have put a lot of hours into playing the RGB10 line of handhelds now though, so that could very well now be a factor, as all have very similar controls. Out of the box, the RGB10s comes with Imulec with a Switch-like theme. Confusingly, the Switch theme also has all the Switch icons still at the bottom, including the Joy-Con icon, eShop and Power icons. None of these do anything, of course, they're just pictures of the Switch icons, so it's just needlessly confusing as a UI. The shutdown script didn't always run correctly either for me, with it just restarting over and over, and there's a couple other just janky options. Fortunately though, the RGB10 handheld had extensive development support from the community, so I was curious to see if the custom firmwares built for the RGB10 would run on the RGB10s. And fortunately they do. Here's the RGB10 build of Arc OS running and immediately making the most out of the RGB10s. The joystick is inverted in the menu in the game, so up goes down for example, but you can remap this straight in RetroArch very easily, and it's definitely worth it just to make the most out of these amazing custom firmwares. And with the inbuilt Wi-Fi as well, you really can get more than you could out of the original RGB10. So I'll cut to some gameplay now and then summarise up at the end. So in my opinion, the RGB10s is a great little handheld. The biggest thing it has against it though is its timing of release. If the RGB10s came out first as the original RGB10 a few years ago, even as a variant, I'm positive it would have been one of the standout handhelds of the year. Coming out in 2022 though, when it's got to compete with products like the Miyoo Mini on the budget side, the Odin on the premium end, and the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus in the middle, makes it a lot harder to recommend. If you're allergic to the Android OS for whatever reason, or just want only what an RK3326 handheld can give you though, then the RGB10s could well be worth checking out. But I'd love to hear your views. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching.